Amara, a brilliant black woman in a corporate world, enters her new office full of hope but is quickly met with subtle racism and blatant disrespect, mocked for her appearance, silenced in meetings, and stripped of the credit she deserves. As her ideas are stolen and presented by others, she faces isolation, gaslighting, and cruel humiliation, including being ordered to fetch coffee in front of executives. Each chapter reveals her growing pain, her resilience against systemic racism, and the silence of colleagues who watch but never defend her. Just when her spirit begins to fracture, the story twists. Her husband Daniel enters not just as her partner but as the newly appointed CEO of the firm. What follows is a storm of poetic justice as Daniel exposes the abusers, fires corrupt leaders, and restores Amara's dignity, while she herself rises to a powerful new role, ensuring no one else endures what she suffered. This is a story of betrayal, resistance, justice, and the dawn of change where silence breaks and fire spreads. Amara Johnson smoothed the front of her navy blue blazer as she stepped into the gleaming glass tower. Her heels clicked against marble floors, echoing with confidence she did not fully feel. "Good morning," she said softly to the receptionist. The woman, blonde and brisk, barely glanced up. "Deliveries around the back." Amara paused. "I'm not delivering anything. I'm here to start work." "Oh." The receptionist's tone cooled into politeness, laced with surprise. "Name, Amara Johnson. New associate." The receptionist scanned the list, finally checking her in, but the look, half doubt, half dismissal, lingered. Amara forced a smile. "Day 1, let it slide." In the elevator, she rehearsed her introductions, top of her class, MBA from Yale, 10 years in community outreach before pivoting to corporate consulting, credentials strong enough to shake the room. But when the doors opened on the 17th floor, silence greeted her. Clusters of coworkers, pale blazers, muted voices fell quiet as she walked past. Hi, Amara tried. Murmurs returned, low and private. No smiles. Her manager, Mr. Collins, finally appeared. Amara, you're here." His handshake was limp, eyes already elsewhere. "Team, this is," he hesitated, "our diversity initiative hire." A chuckle from the back. Amara swallowed. "Actually, I prefer associate consultant. That's my title, right?" Collins waved it off. Sure. Why don't you shadow Victoria today? She'll show you the ropes." A tall, sharp-featured woman with blonde curls and pearl earrings raised a manicured hand. Of course, her smile didn't reach her eyes. By lunch, Amara had answered 3 assumptions. "No, I'm not with maintenance. No, I don't work in catering. Yes, I do belong here." She unwrapped her sandwich in the break room, alone, until Victoria strolled in. "So, Yale, huh?" Victoria said, leaning against the counter. "Impressive. Didn't think Ivy League was accessible to everyone." Amara's jaw tightened. "I worked for it." "Oh, I'm sure. Anyway, if you need fashion tips, I can recommend a few stores. Blazers can be tricky for your shape." Victoria smiled sweetly, then left. That evening, Amara sank into the subway seat, exhaustion heavier than her briefcase. The narration whispered around her like truth on a documentary reel. First day, the credentials are questioned. The competence is doubted. The person is invisible until mocked. This is how systemic racism works, not in grand explosions, but in daily cuts. Amara closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she promised herself, she would not just endure, she would rise. The conference room buzzed with the low hum of conversation. Polished oak table, cold glass pitchers sweating onto coasters, PowerPoint slides flickering on the screen. Amara had spent 2 weeks preparing for this moment. Her research late nights, endless data points was the backbone of the pitch. She carried her notes carefully, like a fragile hope. "Morning, everyone," Mr. Collins said, straightening his tie. "Today, we'll review strategy for the Denver client." Victoria adjusted her pearl earrings, flipping open her laptop. Her eyes flicked at Amara with a quick glint of rivalry. Collins gestured at the screen. "Victoria, walk us through the presentation." Amara blinked. Victoria stood smoothly, clicking to the first slide. Amara's slide. "Thank you, Collins," she began. "So, after reviewing market behavior, we've identified 3 growth opportunities." Amara's pen froze. The graphs, the bullet points, everything was hers. She cleared her throat softly. "Actually, Collins whispered, waving her down. "Let her finish." Victoria's voice rang bright with authority. "And this predictive model here shows exactly how Denver's outreach could double ROI within 6 months." Amara gripped the edge of her notebook. That was her model. Nights of coding, cross-checking datasets. Excuse me, Amara said louder this time. I'd like to add something. Victoria paused, lips curling. Oh, did you want to clarify a number? Amara steadied her voice. That projection is based on my regression analysis. There's also a sensitivity test that Collins cut her off with a chuckle. We'll keep things simple, Amara. Don't overwhelm the client team, right? Laughter scattered around the room. Amara sat back, pulse thudding. Her name wasn't on the slides. Her work had been erased into Victoria's performance. Half an hour later, the pitch wrapped. Applause. Victoria bowed her head gracefully, basking. Outstanding, Collins said. Victoria, you really know how to deliver. Amara tried again. If I could show the sensitivity test, oh honey. Victoria Coude, voice dripping. Not everything has to be so technical. Sometimes it's about presentation, not numbers. The room chuckled again. Then came the moment that sliced deeper than silence. Victoria leaned back in her chair, eyeing Amara's bright coral blouse under her blazer. By the way, love your outfit, she said, mock sweetness coating every word. Very vibrant, though maybe a bit loud for the office. We try to keep it neutral around here. A few muffled snickers. One man coughed into his hand, failing to hide a laugh. Amara's face burned. Collins added, yes, professional Polish is important. We'll get you acclimated, Amara. The air closed in. Every instinct told her to fight back, but her voice caught half swallowed, half strangled. She forced herself upright. With respect, my work deserves acknowledgement, and my clothing doesn't affect my analysis. Silence, then a scoff from the back. Victoria leaned forward, eyes sharp. Relax, Amara. Don't be so sensitive. We're just teasing. Teasing, Amara repeated, her voice thin. Collins sighed. Let's move on. No need for drama. The meeting ended with shuffling chairs and murmurs of casual cruelty. Amara packed her untouched notes into her bag, fingers trembling. In the hallway, Marcus, one of the few black employees she'd seen, caught her eye. He spoke in a low voice. Don't let them break you. Her throat tightened. They stole my work, I know. His eyes were tired. And they'll do it again if you let them see you flinch. Amara walked to the restroom. Locking the door behind her, she pressed both palms against the cool sink, staring at her reflection. Her narration whispered like a wound recorded. This is what systemic erasure looks like. Your work credited to another. Your presence mocked as excess. Your protest dismissed as drama. The room laughs, and you stand alone. This is how racism protects itself, with smiles, with jokes, with silence. She closed her eyes. One tear slipped down her cheek before she forced it away. She straightened her blazer, wiped her face. Tomorrow, I will not cry. Tomorrow, I will fight louder. The office after hours was a different world. Empty cubicles hummed with faint machine noise. Lights dimmed to half. Amara stayed late again, chasing the numbers. No one else wanted to double-check her laptop fanword as she highlighted rows of data. She rubbed her eyes, ready to shut down, when laughter drifted down the hall. She froze. Voices, two of them. I swear, Collins, she's so eager. Victoria's voice rang, smooth and sharp, like a puppy, always wagging her tail with spreadsheets. A man's chuckle. Collins, that's what happens when you hire for optics. The higher-ups want diversity on the team photo, not the boardroom table. Victoria laughed. Exactly. A box checked, not like she ever lead anything. Their footsteps echoed closer. Amara ducked into the supply closet, heart hammering. Still, Collins said, HR's thrilled, makes us look progressive. And if she flames out, hey, we tried, right? Victoria snorted. I'll give it 6 months before she quits. Can't handle the pressure. Collins lowered his voice. Just keep her busy with grunt work. That way she won't embarrass us in front of clients. Their laughter faded down the hall. Doors clicked shut. Amara stayed frozen in the dark closet, throat burning. Their words clung like poison. Optics. Box check. 6 months. She pressed her fists against her legs until the sting in her skin was sharper than the ache in her chest. The next morning, she marched into HR. Linda, the HR rep, smiled politely as Amara sat across the desk. I overheard Collins and Victoria. Amara said firmly, they called me a diversity hire. They admitted they're sidelining me deliberately. Linda tilted her head. That sounds like a misunderstanding. No, it wasn't. I heard them clearly. Sometimes, Linda said smoothly, people joke around in ways that can be misinterpreted. It doesn't mean there's malice. Amara's hands tightened on her lap. They are sabotaging me. That's not a joke. Linda offered a sympathetic smile. I'll make a note. But, for your own career, I'd advise letting it go. Raising complaints can make it harder for you here. Silence stretched. Amara finally whispered. So, nothing will happen. Linda's voice softened. I'll talk to them informally. But we value harmony, Amara. Sometimes the best strategy is to prove yourself. Rise above it. Amara stood slowly. Thank you for your time. Her voice was polite, but her chest felt hollow. Back at her desk, Marcus leaned over the cubicle wall. You look like someone slapped you. HR, Amara said flatly. They don't care. Marcus sighed. Told you. HR protects the company, not us. She stared at her screen. So I'm supposed to just endure? He met her eyes, weary but sharp. You pick your battles, but never forget they want you broken. Don't give them that gift. That night, Amara typed late again, determined to finish a flawless report. Her narration pressed against the silence like truth scratching at glass. When racism hides in laughter, in jokes, in whispers behind closed doors, it is harder to fight, harder to prove. That is its design. The system gaslights, not with fire, but with polite smiles and advice to let it go. Amara exhaled, steadying herself. I won't let it go. Not this time. Amara's desk was a mountain of binders, requests piled, daily data cleaning, scheduling, corrections no one else touched. Every evening, the office thinned until only her lamp glowed. One night, Marcus stopped by with his jacket slung over his arm. You're still here? They keep saying the numbers aren't polished enough, Amara muttered, scrolling through spreadsheets. Marcus frowned. That's grunt work. They're burying you. She leaned back, eyes burning. If I do it perfectly, they'll have to notice. Marcus shook his head. Amara, you think excellence protects you? It doesn't. Not here. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. The conference room was full. Victoria sat at the head, dazzling in cream silk. Collins beside her, flipping through notes. Amara entered with her own slides, her project on market segmentation. She'd stayed up all weekend to finish. As she plugged in her laptop, Collins waved dismissively. Actually, Victoria will present today. You can support. Amara froze. But this is my project. Victoria smiled thinly. Don't worry, we'll make sure your data is included. Her knuckles tightened on the laptop. No. I will present my work. Collins' eyes narrowed. That's not how we operate. Victoria has the Polish. Amara's voice trembled, but rose. With respect, Polish doesn't matter if the substance is mine. This analysis is mine. My nights, my model. I deserve to speak. The room fell still. Victoria laughed lightly. So dramatic. It's just numbers, Amara. Just numbers. Amara snapped. Those numbers are the strategy. You wouldn't have a pitch without them. Murmurs circled the table. Collins' jaw tightened. Sit down. Amara's chest heaved. She didn't sit. For weeks, you've erased me. I'm done being silent. Amara, Collins said, his voice sharp. This is insubordination. Her words spilled faster now, raw and unfiltered. You take my work, hand it to her, then laugh when I object. You think I don't see. I do. And everyone else sees it too. Eyes darted around the table. Some avoided her gaze, others looked guilty. Victoria's smile sharpened. If you're so unhappy, maybe this isn't the place for you. Amara's laugh was brittle. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Push me out and keep the credit. Collins slammed his hand on the table. Enough. You will not disrupt this team with baseless accusations. Baseless? Amara shot back. You called me a diversity hire. I heard you. A hush fell over the room. Collins' face reddened. Watch your tone. My tone. Amara's eyes stung. My tone is the only thing you care about. Not the fact that you've stripped me of dignity since I walked through that door. Victoria whispered loudly. So aggressive. The word hung in the air heavy, sharp, poisoned. Amara's fists clenched. Aggressive? No. I'm fighting to exist. You don't get to define my resistance as aggression. The silence cracked with Collins' final decree. You're out of line. Victoria, please continue. Amara stood trembling. Her presentation abandoned on the screen. She forced her voice low. Steady. One day, you'll answer for this. Then, she walked out, head high, though her knees threatened to buckle. In the corridor, Marcus caught up. Amara, her breath shuddered. They'll ruin me, Marcus. But I can't, she broke off, shaking. I can't be invisible anymore. He gripped her shoulder. You showed them you won't bow. That matters. She met his eyes, tears finally spilling. Will it matter enough? That night, alone, at her apartment desk, Amara stared at her notes. Narration pressed in like a heartbeat. Breaking points come not from one wound, but from many. Each dismissal, each theft, each laugh builds pressure until silence shatters. And when it shatters, the system calls it aggression, not survival. Amara closed her notebook slowly. She knew tomorrow would be worse. The office buzzed with restless energy. Amara sat at her desk, early, sipping lukewarm coffee, determined to prove herself again after the blow. Up. Her projects, the financial forecasting model for Denver was due today. She'd spent nights refining it, saving backups meticulously. She opened her drive. Empty. Her breath hitched. She clicked again. Empty folder stared back. She called it immediately. There must be some mistake. My files, everything's gone. The technician tapped at her keyboard, frowning. Looks like they were deleted Friday night. Amara's voice cracked. I didn't delete anything, he shrugged. Could be accidental, or someone with access. Her stomach dropped. Who has access? He hesitated. Your manager. And Victoria. By noon, she was summoned to Colin's office. He leaned back in his chair, arms folded. Victoria perched nearby, lips curved in satisfaction. Amara, Collins began. We have a problem. Your project files are missing. I know, she said quickly. They were erased. Not by me. I saved them. I backed them up. Victoria raised a brow. Really? Because I saw you struggling with the system last week. Maybe you overwrote something. That's not true, Amara snapped. Collins held up a hand. Enough. The point is, the deliverable's gone. And the client deadline is tonight. I can rebuild it, Amara said desperately. Give me a few hours. Collins shook his head. Trust is already damaged. Victoria will handle it from here. Victoria smirked. Don't worry. I'll polish up a quick draft. Should be good enough. Amara's chest constricted. You're letting her take my project again? After everything. Collins' voice hardened. Watch your tone. You've been emotional lately. That's concerning. The word hit like a slap. Emotional. Her hands trembled. I'm not emotional. I'm telling you the truth. Someone deleted my work. Collins' eyes narrowed. Are you accusing your teammates? Yes, Amara said. The word ripped from her throat. Victoria gasped softly, hand over her chest. Wow. Paranoid much? Collins leaned forward. You're on thin ice, Amara. If you can't work collaboratively, perhaps this isn't the right place for you. She stood rigid, fury and despair twisting inside her. Collaborative? You mean silent. You mean complicit. Collins' voice dropped. Icy. One more outburst like this and I'll recommend termination. The office blurred as she walked out. Vision burning. Marcus caught her near the elevators. Hey, what happened? She swallowed hard. They erased my project and blamed me. He cursed under his breath. Classic. They're setting you up to fail. Her voice broke. I don't know how much more I can take. Marcus' jaw tightened. Listen, if you walk now, they win. But if you stay, you need to armor up. Document everything. Every word, every slight. It's the only weapon we get. That night, at home, Amara collapsed onto the couch. Her phone buzzed. Daniel's name lit up the screen. She hesitated, then answered. Hey love, his deep voice soothed. How was work? Amara forced a chuckle. Oh, just exhausting. Silence lingered. Daniel's voice softened. Exhausting how? She stared at the ceiling. She wanted to tell him everything, that her work was stolen, her dignity shredded, but the words caught. Nothing serious. She lied. Just long hours. His tone was thoughtful. Make sure you're not letting them burn you out. I'll be fine, she whispered. But when the call ended, tears slipped freely. Alone in the quiet, she whispered to herself. They want me gone. Narration folded over her grief like a cruel truth. Betrayal in the workplace is not always loud. It is files vanished in silence, credit transferred with a smile, careers derailed with a shrug. The victim cries sabotage, the system calls it incompetence, and the machine keeps turning. Amara didn't go in on Monday. She called in sick, voice flat, and stayed curled on the couch, blanket cocooning her like armor. Her laptop sat closed on the coffee table, a silent reminder of betrayal. The city moved outside her window, buses groaning, footsteps quick on pavement, but inside, time stalled. She thought of her mother, a woman with calloused hands and a spine of iron. Her mother's voice returned like a ghost. Baby, the world will always doubt you twice, once for being black, once for being a woman. Don't let it take your dignity too. Back then, Amara had rolled her eyes. It won't be that bad, Mama. Times are changing, that now. She wished she had listened harder. By afternoon, she opened a notebook and scribbled words in restless loops. Erased. Diversity higher. Too emotional. Aggressive. Each phrase was a blade. She shut the book, pressing her palms against the cover, as if to hold the wounds inside. The apartment door clicked open. Daniel stepped in, tall and steady, suit jacket over one arm. She forced a smile, pulling the blanket tighter. Hey, he kissed her forehead, then studied her face. You didn't go in. Needed a day. His eyes lingered. You've been tired, more than usual. I'm fine. The lie came to icily. He sat beside her, voice low. Amara, I know when you're carrying something heavy. She looked away. It's just work stress. Daniel didn't press. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders, holding her against his chest. You don't have to fight alone, he murmured. Her throat tightened. She wanted to pour everything out, to tell him about Victoria's smirk, Colin's threats, HR's dismissal, but the words stuck, heavy with shame. She whispered instead, I'll manage. That night, after Daniel fell asleep, Amara lay awake, staring at the ceiling, narration pressed close, like breath in her ear. Silence is not peace. It is the pause before collapse. The storm builds quietly, tears swallowed, voices stifled, truths untold. The silence before the storm is heavy with choice, surrender, or endure one more day. She closed her eyes, replaying her mother's voice. Don't let it take your dignity too. The next morning, she rose with shaky resolve, dressed in gray slacks, a plain blouse, her armor subdued. She whispered to her reflection, one more week. She didn't know Daniel, watching her from the doorway, already saw the cracks. The boardroom was packed. Executives lined the table, laptops open, coffee steaming. This was the Denver deal's final presentation, the project Amara had bled for. Stripped of, erased from, she sat at the far end, shoulders squared, face carefully neutral. Victoria, radiant in navy silk, clicked through slides Amara had once built. Here we see the market segmentation opportunity. Victoria's voice carried smooth confidence. Amara's jaw clenched. Each graph, each phrase, was a ghost of her work. She lifted her hand. Excuse me, if I may. Victoria glanced up, lips tight. We're in the middle of flow, Amara. Let's not derail. Collins added smoothly. Yes, let's keep momentum. Amara lowered her hand slowly, heat crawling up her neck. Minutes dragged. Her silence became suffocating. Finally, during Q&A, she tried again. I'd like to address the sensitivity analysis that was originally. Amara. Collins interrupted, smiling with false warmth. Why don't you contribute by getting us a fresh pot of coffee? The words hung in the air. The room erupted with muffled laughter. One exec whispered, good idea, barely hiding his smirk. Amara sat frozen, her chest pounded. She searched faces around the table. Not one voice spoke for her. Not Marcus, not HR, not the younger associates who knew the truth. Everyone looked away. Her throat ached, but she forced her voice steady. I am not here to fetch coffee. I am here because I built this strategy. The laughter faltered into awkward silence. Victoria leaned back, eyes gleaming. Relax, Amara. It's a joke. Her hands trembled. You erase me. You mock me. And when I resist, you reduce me to a servant. That is not a joke. Colin's smile vanished. Enough. You're disruptive. Amara's voice rose, quivering but fierce. Disruptive. I am silenced, humiliated, stripped of credit, and still you expect gratitude. No more. Gasps rippled. Victoria muttered under her breath, just loud enough, so unprofessional. Amara stood, her chair screeching against the floor. She looked around the table, at every averted gaze. You saw them mock me. You saw them steal from me, and not one of you spoke. Not one. Her words cracked, but rang. You will remember this silence. All of you. For a moment, no one breathed. Then Collins said coldly, Amara, step outside. Now. Her pulse thundered, but she didn't cry. She gathered her notebook, chin lifted, and walked out. In the hallway, her hands shook violently. She pressed her back against the wall, eyes burning. Marcus appeared, face pale. Amara, her voice broke. They told me to get coffee. Marcus, coffee. He flinched. I'm sorry. You said not to flinch. But how do I stand tall when they cut me down like this? His silence was heavy. Alone again, she stumbled into the restroom, gripping the sink. Her reflection stared back. a woman unraveling, yet unbroken. Narration coiled around her grief. Humiliation is the weapon of power. Public laughter becomes a noose, tightening until the victim disappears. The system survives not because of its cruelty, but because of the silence of witnesses. This is how a woman is skirted, erased from her labor, reduced to a joke, left trembling in the hallway. Amara closed her eyes, tears slipping despite her will. She whispered to her reflection, "I won't break, I won't," but deep inside, she wondered how much longer she could endure. The boardroom settled back into routine after Amara's departure. Laptops clicked, coffee cups clinked. Collins cleared his throat. "Now, as I was saying, Victoria, let's wrap with next steps." Victoria smiled, flawless as ever. Of course. The door opened. A tall man entered, broad-shouldered, composed, his presence commanding instant silence. "Daniel Johnson." "Good morning," he said, voice low but resonant. Every head turned. Collins scrambled to his feet. "Ah, Mr. Johnson. We weren't expecting." Daniel's eyes swept the room, steady and unreadable. "I thought it best to see the Denver team in action. After all, I'll be working closely with you." Victoria's smile brightened, eager. "Wonderful. We were just finalizing the strategy. Please, have a seat." Daniel didn't sit. "First, where is Amara Johnson?" The name cut through the room. Murmurs, shuffling. Collins forced a laugh. She stepped out, a little flustered." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Flustered why?" No one answered. Amara, still in the hallway, stiffened as the door opened again. An assistant whispered, "They want you back inside," confused. She stepped in, eyes widening as she saw her husband standing at the head of the table. "Daniel," she breathed. He met her gaze, steady, protective. "Amara." The room froze as realization dawned. Collins stammered, "Wait, you two." Daniel's voice sliced through. "Amara is my wife." Gasps, whispered disbelief. Victoria blinked rapidly, smile cracking. "Your wife." Daniel stepped closer to Amara, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. "And as of last week, I am CEO of this firm." The silence was absolute. Collins swallowed hard. We didn't know." Daniel's expression hardened. "And if you had, would you have treated her differently?" "Because I heard enough in the hall to know how you do treat her." Eyes darted nervously. He turned to Victoria. "You presented a strategy today. Tell me who built it." Victoria's throat worked. "Compiled the slides." "Compiled," Daniel repeated. "Amara, did you build the model?" Her voice shook. "Yes, every line, every graph, every number." Daniel nodded slowly. "So, Victoria, you took credit for work that wasn't yours." Victoria flushed crimson. "I was asked to present." "By whom?" Daniel's eyes snapped to Collins. Collins sputtered. "It was She's better suited for client-facing work." Daniel's voice thundered now. "Better suited, or more comfortable for you. Because what I see is a black woman whose labor you erased, whose presence you mocked, whose dignity you stripped for your amusement." Silence smothered the room. He turned, addressing everyone, who laughed when Victoria ridiculed her clothing. No one spoke. Daniel's voice cut sharper. "Who told her to fetch coffee?" Collins' face blanched. "You," Daniel said, stepping closer. "You thought it acceptable to demean her in front of your team, to weaponize humiliation against an employee whose only crime was excellence." Collins stammered. It was just a joke." Daniel's eyes blazed. "The kind that leaves scars, the kind that drives talent out the door while mediocrity thrives." Victoria tried again. "Mr. Johnson, you're misunderstanding. Amara has been difficult, emotional, disruptive." Amara gasped softly. Daniel's fury sharpened. "Emotional, disruptive, the tired vocabulary of oppression. You steal her work, laugh at her, erase her voice, and, when she dares resist, you call her emotional, aggressive. The script never changes, does it?" Victoria's lips trembled. Daniel stepped back, scanning the room. "Listen to me carefully. This culture ends now. Every manager complicit in this treatment, every bystander who laughed instead of speaking, your silence is recorded in the blood of this company's reputation. No more." Gasps rippled. He turned to Amara, voice softening. "You deserved better. From the first day you walked in this building, you deserved recognition, not ridicule. And from this moment, I promise you things will change." Amara's eyes brimmed with tears. She could no longer hold back. "Daniel," he brushed her hand gently, his strength anchoring her. Collins finally blurted, "Mr. Johnson, please let's not be hasty." Daniel's gaze pinned him. "You are terminated. Effective immediately." The blood drained from Colin's face. What? But pack your office. Daniel's tone was final. He turned to Victoria. As for you stealing another's work, mocking colleagues, perpetuating a hostile environment, you are finished here. Security will escort you out. Victoria's mouth opened, closed. She grabbed her laptop, trembling. Wait, please. Daniel's eyes were cold. No, you laughed when she begged for dignity. Laugh now. Victoria wilted, silent tears streaking her face. Around the table, fear rippled. Daniel's voice rose one last time. This firm will no longer be a breeding ground for racism dressed as professionalism. We will clean house. We will restore integrity, or you will find employment elsewhere. The silence was absolute. Amara stood beside him, trembling, overwhelmed, narration folded in, heavy with justice. Sometimes justice comes not as a whisper but as thunder. The abusers mocked behind closed doors, laughed in boardrooms, erased with polished smiles. But when power shifts, the same room that laughed now trembles. This is poetic justice, the storm breaking. The abusers exposed in the very spotlight they once denied her. Daniel finally exhaled. Softer now. He turned to Amara. Come home with me. You don't have to fight alone anymore. She nodded, tears falling freely. But for the first time her shoulders felt lighter. The office buzzed like a shaken hive the next morning. Whispers carried down every hallway. Collins fired. Victoria escorted out. HR in shock. Fear clung to the walls. Daniel's orders had been swift. Compliance auditors summoned. Department heads questioned. The culture of silence had cracked overnight. Amara arrived quietly, but all eyes followed her. Some with shame, others with cautious respect. In the conference room, Daniel stood at the head of the table again, but this time the atmosphere was different. Today, he began, voice firm, we confront what this company allowed itself to become. Executives shifted uneasily. He gestured toward the empty seats where Collins and Victoria once sat. Power was abused. Voices were silenced. Work was stolen. Racism was excused as jokes and professional Polish. That ends now. Silence thickened. Effective immediately. Daniel continued, we are restructuring leadership. Compliance will audit every department. HR will answer for their failures. Those unwilling to change can resign today. Several faces paled. Then Daniel turned. Amara. Her breath caught. She hadn't expected him to call her forward. Slowly, she stood. Dozens of eyes fixed on her. Daniel's voice softened. You don't owe them anything. But if you wish, this is your moment to speak. The room waited. Amara's pulse thundered in her ears. She looked at the sea of faces, the same ones that had laughed, the same ones that had looked away. Her voice trembled at first, then steadied. When I walked into this company, I believed hard work would speak louder than bias. I believed my degrees, my nights of labor, my results would shield me. She paused, meeting their eyes one by one. But I was erased, called a token, mocked until I wanted to disappear. And when I resisted, you called me emotional, aggressive, disruptive. That's how this system survives, by breaking us, then blaming us for the cracks. A murmur rippled. Amara's eyes shone. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for dignity. For every person who's been silenced in rooms like this. For every witness who stayed quiet while cruelty passed as professionalism. Her voice sharpened. You saw me humiliated, and you said nothing. Remember that silence. Carry it. And when you're tempted to laugh at the next joke, remember my face. The room was silent, not defensive this time, heavy, shamed. Daniel's gaze swept over them. You heard her. Change begins today. If you cannot live with that, leave now. No one moved. Amara sank slowly back into her chair, her heart pounding, her hands trembling. But for the first time, she felt taller than the room around her. Narration pressed in like a final verdict. Reckoning is not revenge. It is exposure. The guilty stripped bare in the light they once denied others. And in that light, silence can no longer hide. The system shakes. And change, however fragile, begins. A week later, the office felt transformed. The air no longer hummed with cruel laughter, but with uneasy vigilance. People chose their words carefully now, not out of fear of Daniel, but out of awareness of what silence had cost them. The Denver deal had been saved. Amara's model, reinstated, her name stamped across every page. In Daniel's office, sunlight poured through wide glass windows. He leaned back, eyes softening, as Amara stepped in. You look lighter, he said gently. She smiled faintly. Maybe, or maybe I've just stopped carrying everyone else's weight. Daniel rose, moving closer. I wanted to ask you something. I'm restructuring. This firm needs more than compliance. It needs conscience. Will you lead that effort? Her eyes widened. Me? Yes, Director of Equity and Integrity, a role that ensures no one else goes through what you endured. Amara hesitated. What if they see me as the angry black woman on a crusade? Daniel's gaze was steady. Then let them. Better they fear your fire than live comfortable in their cruelty. A long silence stretched. Finally, Amara exhaled. Then yes, I'll do it. Later that afternoon, she walked into the same boardroom where she had once been mocked, but this time, she stood at the head of the table. Her voice was calm, resolute. We are starting something new, she announced. Not because I want to punish anyone, but because this company cannot survive if it keeps bleeding its talent dry. From now on, silence won't protect you. Laughter at someone else's expense won't shield you. And stolen credit will cost more than your reputation. It will cost your career. The room listened, truly listened. Narration carried her words beyond the walls. Dignity is not given, it is claimed, and when one woman stands, trembling but unbroken, the room must adjust its gaze. They once saw only her skirt, her skin, her silence. Now they see her fire. As the meeting ended, younger employees lingered. One woman whispered, "Thank you. I didn't think anyone could speak here." A man added softly, "You're changing things. You've given us permission." Amara smiled, not with triumph, but with quiet strength. "No, I reminded you that you always had permission." That night, Daniel and Amara walked out together. The city lights glowed, the night air crisp. She leaned into him, weary but proud. "Do you think it will last, this change?" Daniel slipped his arm around her shoulders. "It will, because you lit it." And fire spreads. Amara looked up at the skyline. For years, she had bent herself small to fit inside rooms that mocked her. Now, she felt the horizon opening vast, waiting. Humiliation had been their weapon. Resistance was hers. And justice had finally come, not as mercy, but as dawn.